Imagine this. You're in a conversation, a negotiation, maybe even a quiet war of influence. You want someone to act, to follow your direction, but you know if you command them, they'll resist. Tell them what to do, and their ego flares. Suggest it, and they might ignore you. So what do? You guide them without ever appearing to guide. That is the silent architecture of reverse psychology, the same invisible weapon that Machiavelli wielded centuries before the phrase existed. He didn't move men with orders. He moved them with choice. He didn't demand loyalty. He designed situations where disloyalty looked suicidal. He didn't shout his will. He made others whisper it in their own voice. This is the true nature of power, not force, but frame. And today, we're diving into the 13 Machiavellian laws of reverse psychology. How to make anyone act in your favor while believing they're acting freely. Law 1. The illusion of control. People crave freedom more than truth. Tell them what to do, and they'll instinctively want the opposite, even when your command would have saved them. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote that men are so simple and so obedient to present necessities that he who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. But deception doesn't mean lying. It means allowing others to believe what they need to believe to feel in control. When you want compliance, never demand it. Instead, frame a choice that isn't a choice. Say, you're free to decide, but I'd be cautious. That option tends to backfire. Now, their ego feels safe, their pride intact, and their decision, yours. People follow not the strongest leader, but the one who lets them believe they're leading. Law 2. The forbidden fruit. What we cannot have controls us more than what we do. Machiavelli would often make his ideas appear dangerous, too bold, too controversial, just enough to provoke curiosity. The human mind rebels against boundaries. It confuses resistance with autonomy. Tell people don't touch, and they touch. Tell them, you won't understand, and they lean in. The forbidden becomes the fascinating. This law isn't about denial. It's about strategic restraint. Make your influence feel forbidden, and they'll chase it to prove they're free. Law 3. The weak command. Force creates friction. Suggestion creates motion. A weak command is stronger than a demand because it doesn't trigger defense. Say, I might be wrong, but perhaps this could work. You've planted curiosity instead of defiance. Now, they'll convince themselves of your idea just to prove they discovered it. The best generals never order. They inspire conviction in others to carry their orders willingly. Law 4. The mirror mind. People don't trust persuasion. They trust reflection. Machiavelli mirrored the fears and emotions of those around him. When they were angry, he became calm. When they were proud, he became humble. They saw themselves in him and mistook that reflection for trust. That's the mirror trap. Let them believe you're on their side, and they'll open their defenses voluntarily. Once inside, you guide from within. Influence through empathy, not argument. Law 5. The reverse threat. When someone expects confrontation, give them calm. Say, do what you must. I'll adjust. Indifference terrifies the ego. They'll interpret your composure as control, and control is magnetic. The moment you stop reacting, you become the gravity others orbit around. Law 6. The ego trap. Every mind has a mirror it worships, its own reflection. You don't control people by attacking their ideas. You control them by protecting their self-image. Don't say, you're wrong. Say, you're usually sharp. That's why this surprised me. Now their ego feels flattered, but also challenged to prove itself. They'll adjust their behavior to restore the image you described. You didn't command them. You edited their identity. Law 7. The seed of doubt. You don't always need to persuade. Just plant uncertainty. Ask, are you sure that's the full story? A single seed of doubt grows faster than 1,000 facts. Once someone starts explaining themselves, they've already surrendered control. They'll rationalize their position, defend their choice, and in doing so, reveal their weaknesses. Law 8. The strategic surrender. Pretending to lose disarms the mind faster than winning. When Machiavelli retreated, it wasn't defeat, it was camouflage. He'd make enemies overconfident, lowering their guard until they mistook his silence for weakness. Then, when the time came, he'd strike, not loudly but decisively. Sometimes, the most powerful word in strategy is you're right. Say it, then wait. Soon, they'll start doubting why you agreed so easily. Law 9. The contrast illusion. Human perception is built on comparison. If you want something to appear appealing, pit it against something worse. You don't promote peace. You remind people of the chaos of war. You don't sell obedience. You reveal the ruin of rebellion. Machiavelli used this constantly. Frame one path as disaster, and people will convince themselves your plan is salvation. That's not control. That's choreography. Law 10. The silence gambit. Silence is the purest form of pressure. Most people drown in it. They confess, over-explain, justify, all while revealing the truth you sought. Machiavelli mastered the pause. He understood that silence creates projection. People imagine what you think, and their imagination becomes their prison. Say less. Let their fear fill the gaps. Law 11. The reversal of need. Power flips the direction of desire. You don't chase, you make others chase. Make your presence scarce, your approval expensive. When you act indifferent, people project value onto you. It's not arrogance, it's psychological economics. What costs little is rarely respected. What withdraws becomes worshipped. Law 12. The hidden frame. If you control the context, you never need to control the person. Ask questions that define the limits of thought. Would it be wiser to delay this or test it first? Both choices serve your goal. They think they're deciding. You've already framed the conclusion. This is the invisible structure of persuasion. A master never argues. He frames. Law 13. The gentle defiance. People crave to prove themselves. Use that hunger. Say, you probably wouldn't understand this. They'll lean in, desperate to prove they can. Suggest they're too emotional, and they'll strive to be rational. Implant the challenge, and pride will do the rest. Reverse psychology weaponizes human dignity. It turns self-respect into a leash. But these aren't just tricks. They're reflections of human instinct. Every person wants to feel free, intelligent, respected. Reverse psychology doesn't break those desires. It uses them. When you make someone believe they're acting from independence, they'll defend your influence as if it's their own conviction. Machiavelli didn't manipulate to deceive. He manipulated to predict. He saw how easily the mind mistakes freedom for control. That's why his power was invisible, not in what he said, but in what he let others believe. The highest form of control doesn't look like control at all. It looks like patience, detachment, understanding. You give others the stage, the freedom, the illusion of victory, while quietly shaping the script. That's how kings are made without crowns. It's how rulers command without commands. Power, in its purest form, is invisible obedience, when others fight to protect the very influence you've planted in them. You see this everywhere. A manager who says, you decide what's best, yet everyone still follows his silent lead. A partner who says, do what makes you happy, knowing the guilt of freedom will bring you back. An influencer who pretends to withdraw, only to become more desired. They're not lucky, they're strategic. They understand that reverse psychology is not manipulation. It's architecture. When you master this, you stop chasing validation. You start designing perception. You no longer argue, you guide. You no longer persuade, you align. Because once people feel ownership over your idea, they'll defend it more fiercely than you ever could. That's the beauty of psychological invisibility. It's the art of moving the world without leaving fingerprints. But here's the warning Machiavelli would whisper to you. Once you understand how easy it is to steer others, your greatest battle will be steering yourself. Manipulation without purpose is self-destruction. Power without restraint becomes paranoia. The goal is not to control the crowd, it's to understand it. To see through the illusions that make others predictable, and to master the silence that makes you unshakable. That is the true spirit of Machiavellian intelligence. Control through calm. Influence through absence. Power through perception. When people think they're free, and yet they move exactly where you lead, that's when you've crossed into the realm of invisible mastery. And once you reach that point, you'll realize the final truth. You no longer need to manipulate anyone, because the entire world will begin to bend naturally around your quiet certainty. Remember this. The one who commands least controls most. The one who lets others speak writes the script. And the one who hides ambition behind humility rules the minds of men forever. Follow for more lessons from Machiavelli, because true power doesn't need to be seen. It only needs to be understood.